coming up with a very, 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 very special video today. And today's topic is going to be about a transit that kind of begins its orb in 2023 and will perfect it around 2026. And this is the event, a prolonged event, but this is the event of Pluto, Neptune, Uranus triangle with Pluto trining Uranus. Uranus will already be in Gemini when it perfects, and Neptune will be in Aries, while Pluto will be in Aquarius. And I have looked for the last time that this transit happened, and I said, well, it probably is going to be a century long search to have, Neptune both sextiling Pluto and Uranus trining Pluto. Um, and I went to the 1900s, and then to the 1800s, and then to the 1700s, and then to the 1600s, 1500s, the year 1000 before that, and I did not find another occurrence of the exact perfection of all of these coming together into this shape. So that means that at least in the last millennia, like not the 2001, like the previous one, we did not have, and I'm not talking about a century, I'm talking about the millennia, that we did not have these three planets. Even if we go in retrospective, don't start with they only discovered Uranus in the 1700s. Yes, okay, fine. Like, I mean, in retrospective, we can still look at the ephemeris and where Uranus was and computate that. And we still did not find any event in the last millennia of these two coming together. So perhaps there are times before that. I did not look like all that deeply. But this is not a once in 100 years. It's not a once in 300 years or 500 years. It's beyond 1,000 years that we did not have this aspect in the sky. Okay, and it's going to perfect on 2026. I know it's not hard aspect. It's a trine. And I know some. There are astrology streams that only look at hard aspects. Okay, fine. Feel free. But this is an event, and this is outer planet. So it's a shift in zeitgeist that we can't refer back to, at least insofar as we know modern history. That's big. That's big, isn't it? Usually you can see, okay, when was Pluto trine in Uranus? We have that. When was Pluto sextile Neptune? For the last like 100 years or so. Not 100, but yeah, something like that. When was Neptune sextile in Uranus? We have that. But all these three coming together, we don't have any point of reference as to what things were. So we don't know what will be. Okay? And this is important. The aspects are harmonious. Okay, it's the sextile and the trine. This means that all these cosmic forces are working in harmony. Okay, the Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are working in harmony with each other. Their energies meet harmoniously. And I do see that as a big deal because there is a joint forces that there is a certain harmonious cosmic order I'm not saying good or bad. Harmonious just means that those forces find it easier to work together. Um, it can also be felt trines and sextiles can also be like too easy that you don't tap into it or something like that. Um, but again, of course, we will tap into it because things are going to trigger these trines, and these trines are going to be involved with aspects, with other aspects. Like here with the the moon. Or Chiron and the moon separating from a square to Pluto here in 2026. So I just thought, hey, why not mention that? So at that time, Pluto will be in Aquarius. Um, the Neptune will still be in orb when it is in the end of Pisces, and so we have at least 2 years before that where Neptune is um, it is coming as applying to this trinity, okay, as well as Uranus and Pluto. Uh, so we can count in the times where Uranus is still in Taurus and the times where Neptune is still in Pisces. Um, and in a way, the times where Pluto is at the end of Capricorn, but that would more be the 2023 aspect, okay? Not the 2022. And so, um, we're dealing with Pluto in Aquarius and everything that signifies Pluto in Aquarius. So the power of the people, the power of mass technology, the power of science, scientific discoveries about gravity, about forces, about power, and the different powers in science, the transforming the way we think about them. We may view more. We may return or further accentuate viewing power as waves. I talked about gravity. I have a Spirit of Matter episode about Pluto and Aquarius where I discuss gravity and gravity waves. So I discussed the history of gravity waves and the astrology of that, and I make predictions for Pluto in Aquarius. You might want to check this episode out because the uses of gravity waves or the uses of powers as waves can be relevant also because Pluto rules cells and cell rejuvenation. We might have techniques to use waves, all types of waves, sound waves or light waves or waves of or gravity waves as well to rejuvenate cells, so recreating cells. It can also be the power to create something using wave technology. Um, so that is working in alignment with Neptune. And Neptune is both a spiritual experience, illusion and disillusion around something, but the dissolution of boundaries, the sense of oneness. And that is going to be, right from Neptune being at home in Pisces, at the end of Pisces, to delving into Aries. And Aries is starting something new. It's a fresh new innovation. It's a we see Saturn here playing around. So if you think about on a mundane level, Aries being self-determination, and Saturn there being structures, but still reflective, it will go direct, and Neptune ideation. When I think about it, I think Alt Neuland, so the old new land. Okay, so perhaps people might think about the old new, but not land, but maybe identity of their peoples, of their tribes, because we are heading less. It's a less Capricornian phase of that identity, but more alternative way. And so feeling the interest of the people, not colliding but rather harmonizing with individual interest and structures that revolve around protecting the interest or the self-interest of people, or individuality. um, and then we have Uranus at the end of Taurus, um, already sextile in Neptune. That's going to be at the end of Pisces and then in Aries. So Uranus going from completely transforming currency, money, land, agriculture, into completely transforming the social agreements that we have with each other. And I think social agreements, immediately on a political level, if you think about the social agreements, of the series of social agreements, were the fundamentals of the ideologies that would later yield also democracy. Okay, so social agreements is something that on a political level gave birth to a completely new type of regime. And I know that people will say democracy and they will say Greece um, rather than France. And okay, not saying it didn't happen in the past, but think about Greece versus France and how many millennia were in between Greece and France. So this one is another one coming. This one is another one coming. And do not forget the role of technology with Uranus. So it's a whole new scientific method. We will scientifically see the nature of societies, or not necessarily the nature of societies, but we'll definitely see that the nervous system playing a big role in society, the role of the nervous system in society, technology in society, technology in the democratizing is a word of probably the old world of, but it can be further democratizing, or this is a time where there is great belief. There is great belief. This is a timeline, okay? This is not necessarily leaders that will think it way. People will download this timeline with their luminaries, with their personal planets, with their charts, depending on what it touches. I have Chiron in first degree Gemini. Somebody else, I have the ruler of my seventh in 27th degree, in 26th degree Aries. Okay, I have. But you may have I don't know, ascendant in adjacent to Pluto. So certain people will download this reality, this new timeline with their personal charts. But I'm speaking about the overall timeline for not just humanity, but existence on the earth, because this is the way that we see it from the earth. So it can be a very idealistic time where we may feel that the power of the people and the right of the individual merge into one another, and there are going to be technological advancements that are going to help building up these new structures that will represent the individual being. And I'm saying being here because it can be a robot, it can be a person, it can be a mix of a robot and a person, it can be an animal life, or a mix of plant life and animal life, and all kinds of things, because Aries rules the head, and we're going to over idealize in a way. We're going to tend to idealize a lot the mind, the power of the mind, the power of the intellect, the power of social agreements based on the intellect. Okay, this is kind of like, if it sounds a bit like the 1500s, the 1700s, then yes, but this is not the 1500s, the 1700s. Think mythology, think, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, probably somewhere around that. I don't know. I haven't thoroughly looked for, I don't know of a way to find this aspect returning in history. So this is a big major thing. Okay, our ability to download the information and to have innovations in technology harmonize with power to the people and also hidden powers around people, the themes of people, mass technology, transformation of the concept of technology, and perhaps of the concept of humanity, which is also an Aquarian concept and heading to an Aquarian age. So yes, you know, the man and the machine, Deus ex machina, but Deus ex machina is also the notion of our nervous system being controlling the body. Okay, and the idea that you know that everything reaches the nervous system. We used to think about the brain and the power of the brain, and we mapped the entire brain cells. All of that is going to create a very optimistic and idealistic sense of notion that we are at one with spirit, and at one with science. And some of that might be disillusioned in the future, but at least at that point there is a time where we can touch the connection, we can touch the oneness of that which is visible and that which is invisible around, of that which is the one and the greater good for the entire cosmos, and that which is the individual right of the, it can give a bit of a lot of, grandiose sense of grandiose for someone who downloaded with their personal charts or have like the luminary around Neptune or something. But a part of that is not necessarily because of the harmony aspect. A lot of that can be materialized, so a lot of that can be true. So it's not all, for example, if you would talk, if in any society that was ruled by a king for a long time, you would talk and say, well, you know what, the people should actually rule. The people should actually vote. They would look at you like you're crazy. Even today, some people would look at you like you're crazy when they are living in democratic regimes. But then there are still a lot of things. For example, the bureaucracy of going to a war in a democracy is a lot higher than in a tyranny, and therefore there are certain types of wars that we see less of in the democratic age. It's not in any way ideal, but it's also, we can touch certain aspects of that which seems unreasonable. And so this is a very optimistic, humble, and it's like for humanity, and I'm saying for humanity not from the sense of grandiose, but simply because we're touching on humanity as Aquarius and approaching it within the 300 years phase of transition from Pisces age to Aquarian age. We're touching on Aries, that is the right of the individual, standing up for your right, having self-interest, not being ashamed to have your own desires fulfilled or manifested, understanding that this is healthy to have a human being with the desires, and being born with the desires is a divine being. Okay, that's very much the Neptune Aries thingy. So for this, the dark aspect, it can make an ideation of war, but with this particular thing, it's not necessarily right on that. It can also be a new idea, a new way to act in the world. And humanistic in the place of Uranus in a very humane sign is the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is two people. Okay, so the sign of society, the sign also place for social revolutions. Okay, but none of that is necessarily easy, but it is definitely new times for humanity. Not only the land, not only the living, not only nature, the trees, the plants, the angels or whatnot, but also particularly humanity is involved here. Okay, and also animal life, of course, with the ram. And then we know that there is an involvement of animal life and the divine beings of animal living, which might also be perceived as deserving rights. So we already have the beginning of that, but that might grow even more. And then with the promise of technology, that we will find a solution that we need for that humanity. That might be impossible, this might seem unreasonable but that is what goes beyond the current reason. Um, so here we already have Jupiter moving in, into Leo, but Jupiter was conjuncting Uranus in Taurus before that. So there's a history to this, and to the way that humanity meets this. And Saturn was conjunct in Neptune. Okay, so complete dissolution of structure and transformation of the notion of what is a structure. Okay, what do we think of as a structure? What is structure in the language of waves? Waves that are of the ocean and waves that are of, an energy. Energy that, for example, thermal energy. What if gravity is also energy? That could explain a lot of astrology and its effect on people, because we have these waves connecting and transforming into different types of energy that affect our neural activity. And that is already a way to understand how something that is so far away can have an effect on something that is right here on Earth, that is your mind. Okay. So definitely there can be new technologies that allow observation, and will turn that which seems unreasonable into that which we can observe. So yes, it can also be a time of great ideation. For all these things, and each and every one of these planets have a shadow side and light side in wherever they are. But all in all, there is a great potential here for doing something that is not necessarily destructive to humanity. Okay, these aspects are harmonious aspects. It means that to integrate the energies of the outer planets in between themselves is easier. Okay. And then of course you could have like a square to that trine, or having, one of these. Here we have like the moon separating from applying to square that Pluto. So of course that's, you meet that magnificent energy in a way that is perhaps fear or feeling disempowered with that which is to come. So it's not just, even when you have an easy aspect with the outer planets, it doesn't necessarily mean that the way of this new reality to be downloaded into Earth is a thing. And because I have not seen this aspect again in the last millennia, it tells me that how significant of a change, how significant of a cycle between this aspect and the next time we might see it in the future. Perhaps at least not before 1,000 years. So this is something going on right in these years, that it will not be before at least 1,000 years. Who knows how many thousands, that will understand, realize, materialize. Okay, completely. When we talk about the new age, yes, absolutely, but it can be beyond like the age, like I don't know. Okay, it might be a significant point of age of Aquarius. It might be significant point of ongoing changes that are going to affect literally the next millennia, at least, of how the next 1,000 years at least of how this earth exists for as long as it exists. And whatever is humanity that will be in those 1,000 years will also be very much affected. So again, I talked about the notions of waves and power as waves, and the understanding of how my nervous system can relate to Pluto's nervous system, because it is waves of energy, and you know, if a planet out there that I don't have any contact with and I cannot even see in the sky is moving around, then there's a certain level and a certain attuning that my channeling mind can do to download this information and identify between, you know, the noises and the omens, which one is coming from that planet and that intelligence. And on a wavelength base, there I can find a certain harmony between me touching the oneness, okay, me the individual, and the cosmic order, and therefore also other individuals, and how we are all, if we are all affected by this planet, so there's something that unifies us all. We are all one. All of us are affected. Each is affected in a different way, but all of us are affected by these planets. We can find something in common that we have, and we have a technology that allows, for example, astrology, that allows us to observe, that allowed us to absorb, and that allows us to understand, to make sense of that which is beyond reason, and to make reason of that which is chaos. That is Uranus. It's making reason within chaos. Because Saturn tries to turn chaos into order so you can make sense. Uranus is making reason within chaos. It's doing the impossible. It's revolutionary. It's very successful in that sense. Okay? And so those are the type of things. But then if you know, if everything is one, then that means that, you know, they're thinking about animism, but you think about it's both the notion that the masses, or that God is personified, but also the notion that the I is a part of that oneness, and there's a great harmony there. I am one, and one is me. I am the people, and the people is me. Okay? My greater good, because I am a person, it is a part of the greater good of every person. And so there is the greater good of all people. Now we know that that notion has had its pros and cons and misleadings and so on and so forth. But here there is a timeline where it is concise, where it is true, where it does work this way. It's not going to apply to everybody. It's not going to apply to everybody in the same, you know, light and shade modes. People are still going to, like, the experiences on Earth are still going to be experiences on Earth. But there is this segment of reality where technology and channeling or downloading information or revolutions is in alignment with both the higher good, the greater good for all people, and the power of the people and the rights of the individual coincide. Okay, it yields tremendously optimistic structures and tremendously optimistic policies and ideas. And you notice that I find it even difficult to speak in terms of policies and ideas and states and government, because even the language is going to change around that. Whatever will remain of that will be, in ancient Greece, they talk about the demos. So that can be something like that. We withdraw back from ancient times and we modernize it, and then we go around with it, and that's going to be another, you know, at least we are the new antiquity in that sense. So this is a you know, it's a big moment in history that it's not even a moment, and it's not it's not something that you can have. You can say, okay, at that moment that happened. Probably not. It will only be when it's activated by a luminary, it's activated by eclipse cycle, and those kind of things that play out. So you wouldn't directly see that. Maybe you will see a prophet, maybe you will see somebody, but even if you will see a prophet, it doesn't mean that you will, maybe it will take another couple of 100 years to hear about the prophet person, and so it is not something that immediately is going to be felt. Also because this is a trine. Okay, it's not a manifested aspect that event that we have like a cosmic event, like a conjunction, a square, or something like that. Um, but it will definitely manifest things. There is a notion. There will definitely be a notion that there's a sense of new structures, sense of new belief, sense of new ideologies, technologies, and cosmology that touches on humanism in a way that is so much aligned um, that um, and there would be continuous perhaps attempts to download this divinity, to download this moment, to do something with that, to reach out from like there's just something that we cannot describe in the terms of the language that we use for events that happen every every couple of 100 years even. Okay, we can talk about the Industrial Revolution. It's something that we know. We say we're at the verge of another industrial revolution. Of course we are. We're at the midst of it. But it's getting even deeper. We can talk about, 500 cycle event, but this one is already not, it's beyond these terms, okay? It's beyond history. It's beyond the history that we know as the modern history that we can talk about. It's the kind of history that you study of ages, and then there is that sapiens and that sapiens and that sapiens, and homo this, homo that, and then and that probably is the beginning of the signification. But again, it's not going to be a point. You don't point at the place in time where Homo erectus turned to Homo sapiens. I don't know. Okay, it's not a day in a time. It's something that you look at from the vantage point of anthropology, of history, and talk about antiquity. Okay, so the word antiquity is like this is the new antiquity of the next, I don't know. And it's not even generations, it's the generation of eras. So all in all, in the very big event, I believe that if you are channeling, then perhaps you might have a bit more of an insight into this. And so I would love if you have a video even that is relevant to this transit, then say like post it and post a link of it in my comments. I would not consider it. I would not consider it something that is not ethical if it is relating to this context, to what I have to say. Okay, so if you're channeling something, or if you did your own videos around that, I would not consider it like self-promotional if you post it to the comments below, if it is relevant, of course. Okay, so use that with intelligence. Because I would love to create a discourse, and I would love to share information, and I would love to learn from you and have us learning from each other, and sharing this interesting times. Okay, so there probably can be a lot that can be said about this, all speculative. I think I mentioned the basis of what can be said, and you can continue on in the comments, and I'd love to read your thoughts. So I was Shirley, and I do have two more channels. It is Jupiter Rising Shirley and Shirley Tally, a Real Dreamer, and those are a social experiment that I have. But I do need at least 50 subscribers for the new channels to post lives also there and see what do I feel like talking about there, what comes out of me, and how do I meet the people, how do I meet the world. One is with Libra in the 11th, and Venus in the first, and the other one um, is with Pisces in the 11th. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So, but I do need your help to do lives there as well. And this channel also remains. You can, if you don't know this channel, you can subscribe and click the bell for notifications. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.